Fred. I was preparing my talk, and the reading was too short. So if you could read one more paragraph, we'll be in business. This is my best friend. I can't tell you how much he and Christine mean to me, and they've just been with me through everything. So anyway, my name's Sandy Beach, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm here this afternoon to talk about steps 6 and 7, which is probably my favorites to talk about, closely followed by 10, closely followed by 2. So if you're inviting me to a conference and you want to entice me, let's put those on there. I was thinking of a different way of starting, and I came up with this, that would you all like to enter the kingdom of God? We talk about the kingdom, the keys to the kingdom. Would you like to enter? And I think most of us would, yes. And the door's wide open, and it's been wide open the whole time. But as you get to the door, there's someone there who says, I'm sorry, you can't bring any of your kingdom in here. That's why not many people get there. So what is your kingdom? What is my kingdom? It's all my ideas, my opinions, my causes, my plans, my resentments, my fears, my judgments, my past. It's me. Well, you can't bring any of that in. Well, as the book says in step 3, I don't want to be the hole in the donut. You remember that line in step 3? If I turn my, I'll be the hole in the donut. I'll be a non-entity. Unfortunately, only holes in donuts and non-entities get to go in. The kingdom is filled with holes in the donut and non-entities. That's why it's so pleasant there. The only presence that you feel is God's, not being interfered with any egos. So that's kind of the purpose of step 6 and 7, is to point out to us that this kingdom is sitting there, and we are the reason we're not in there. Not God, not circumstances, nothing. We just want to take part of our kingdom with us. And this is the struggle. The kingdom, my kingdom, is everything in my life that I'm in charge of. You know, I'm the decision maker in all matters in my life. It's my life, and I will be the final arbiter of whether it's yes or no or maybe or whatever it is. That's my kingdom. And they want me to give that up. And when we stick around a while, we find out it really isn't our life. It belongs to God. And I liked what Bill was saying when he said that if we can understand powerlessness, we can understand the futility of trying to manage anything and of trying to come up with ideas and plans and all these things that are generally designed because we're unhappy. I'm not feeling good. I don't see it. I'm going to come up with a plan to feel better, to be happy, to be at peace. And then we start this plan, and everybody else has a plan. They're in our way. We're not making any progress, and it's frustrating. Why make any plans at all? Well, if you don't make any plans at all, you'll be a non-entity. You'll be a hole in the donut. You'll be just sitting around not making any plans. Have you tried it? No, I've got a lot of stuff to accomplish. I can't not. I'm a planner by trade. I don't think I'll be giving up plans. Really. Well, we have a long way to go. So my kingdom, my territory is me. And I think we all identify with that. We have I love boundaries. God, that defines it perfectly, doesn't it? No boundaries in heaven. So we're not going to concede any of this territory. Chuck Chamberlain just says it so perfectly when he draws that big circle. And all of us have seen it a million times. But every time we talk about it, it gets more hysterical. Chuck draws a circle on the blackboard and he says, this circle represents the entire universe and everything that there is. This is God and every single thing that there is. And then he draws a little dot outside the circle. And that's me. And that's where we all are. We're the little dot existing in addition to everything in the universe. I exist separate and in addition to everything in the universe. Well, now how is that possible? How could you exist in addition to everything in the universe? It's a piece of cake. You just make up a story that you exist separate from everything in the universe and believe it. And that constitutes our kingdom and our old set of ideas. They all are designed to have us be separate. And since we created all these ideas, in our consciousness, we are consciously separated from God. As we go to our own head and we just look around. Yep, I'm here. And everybody else is over there. There's me, and then there's everything else. This separation. And when we are the only one there, it's a lonely existence. It's very lonely in this kingdom that we created, but it's ours. And we're totally in charge. If we want to watch television all day, I watch television all day. It's my kingdom. I do any damn thing I want. Sponsor said go to a meeting, I'm watching television. It's my kingdom. I have the final say. I remember somebody going, yeah, I'm in jail, but I got here. I got here. There's something wonderfully stupid about this entire setup that we all created, and every human being does it. And we get so lost in this world of stories and ideas that we forget that this real kingdom is there. And that's where we came from. And I like to think that I'm on a prodigal son journey, and I can hardly wait to get home. Matter of fact, this year I've had a lot of painful health problems. I remember one time lying down in the emergency room in Texas, and I'm going, hey, God, I'm 80 freaking years old. I've been in this rotten planet for all this time. Don't you think? No. No. Boy, it's hard to love a God like that. I'm just trying to get home. So what happens that we're even willing to give up part of our territory or part of our kingdom? Alcoholism. Alcoholism drives us down so far that we raise our hand and actually ask someone to help us, and we'll follow what they say. Go to treatment. And we go. And then we find out we're alcoholic. And we find out that we're powerless over it. It's our first lesson in powerlessness. We're powerless over alcohol. It's going to kill us unless we get help with the disease of alcoholism. And so, if our territory was the United States and our alcoholism constituted New England, we give up New England. Okay, God, you can have New England. Don't mess with Illinois. That's where I keep my sex stuff. Don't mess with California. That's where I keep my resentments. Don't mess with Texas. That's where I keep my pride. But you can have New England. And we really think we're making a great concession. I turned over my alcoholism to God. We're entirely ready to have God remove all our defects of character. And so we gave up our alcoholism, and what Chris read was, having become entirely ready to have God remove it, and certainly through the process of humiliation, we achieved some degree of humility that we just said, please take it. And it was lifted out of us in a fashion that is pure magical. It is unexplainable. This cannot be explained in psychiatric terms. The alcohol problem was lifted out. In the preamble to the forward to the 12 and 12 says, expel the obsession to drink. Isn't that an interesting word? Boom. Gone. I haven't thought about drinking in 47 years. It just hasn't come up for me to think about. You know, it's kind of like Lithuania. I never think about Lithuania. It's not. I don't go to bed at night worrying about Lithuania or some moon around Uranus or something like that. That stuff is not. It doesn't even come on my radar. So drinking is out there. It's been taken and it's out there. So as the reading that Chris read, we have absolute proof that if we become entirely ready and humbly asked, the biggest character defect that we had was gone. So what are you still messing around with these other ones? Why are they still here? How come we don't have any saints in the room? Why haven't we gotten rid of all the other character defects? That's a good question. Why haven't I gotten rid of gossip? Dr. Bob said that's a terrible thing. It can ruin AA. And I understood that. And I remember when I saw that. And I said, gossip. God, I want gossip. God, I am entirely ready to have gossip removed. Then I thought about it a little bit. And I said, I think the real crime here is originating gossip. That's the real defect that needs to be removed. Some of us have to serve as like a line of communication so that the gossip over here can get over there. And so I may serve occasionally as a relay station to allow things to move around. But I do want God to remove me originating gossip. And nothing happens with either half. God doesn't take half of a defect away. He takes it all or nothing. all or nothing. Whoops. Step is getting a little more extreme than I thought about. If you start thinking about that step, we're entirely ready to have God remove all our defects of character. That would result in perfection. Perfection. Phew. You got to stay away from perfection. They kill perfect people. Perfection is dangerous. You must settle for some half measure thing in order to survive, just to survive. But the step says perfection. Well, no, it's progress, not perfect. No, step says progress towards perfection. But it's a misprint. I don't want to even have that come in here. Those absolutes, I thought we got rid of those absolutes. I thought Bill said, no, we're not going to take those into AA, those 4 absolutes from the Oxford group. Well, he wrote a letter after he finished the 12 and 12, and he said, I decided that we didn't need those absolutes, but on second thought, I snuck them back into step 6 and 7. And that's what step 6 says. You must aim for total removal, or nothing will happen. In the middle of the step, it says, we tend to settle for as much perfection as will get us by. Anybody relate to that? I'm getting my act together. I'm starting to understand walking the moral line, or close to it, and how valuable it is. And I'm going into business, and one of the things you want if you're going into business is to be thought of as an honest person. So I would like God to make people think that I'm an honest person. I would like to be thought of as an honest person. I would like to be honest most of the time. I'm willing to see the value. But if you're in business, you know there are situations you just got to screw the other guy. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but you have to shade things. You have to. We're already conceding. You can see what is happening. No matter what character defect we bring up, we find it's too extreme to get rid of it all. Greed. God, you read about those greedy guys on Wall Street, and they're taking $30 million or whatever it is. Isn't that awful, the greed? I would have only taken $2 million myself. Because I'm not greedy like they are. Well, why would you take anything? Well, hell, you don't get the opportunity that often. I mean, what the hell are you going to do? Look a gift horse in the mouth? Are you crazy? For crying out loud. Now, see, I'm making fun of myself, and everybody is going along with it. We see the real problem in step 6 is it goes too far. That's the problem with step 6. It goes too freaking far. Look, I came to AA. I just want to stop drinking. That's all I wanted. And my sponsor said, great, we've taken care of that, but I noticed at work, you're taking money out of the cash can in the office. That's government money. That's embezzling. You must give up embezzling if you're going to stay sober. Oh, I didn't know there was 2 parts to the program. No drinking, no embezzling. Nobody told me that. I just heard about drinking. Yeah, I don't know. 2 months later is, if you can't keep flirting and keep your marriage secret, you can't have these phone numbers and these other, you can't do that and stay sober. Oh, there's 3 parts to AA. No drinking, no embezzling, and no fooling around. Jeez, nobody told me that when I came in. I didn't know. Next week, no this. next week. None of that. It goes on forever. Constantly wanting me to give up things. Remember what I said in the beginning. Come on into the kingdom, but you can't bring any of your kingdom in. This is the painful process of having our kingdom chopped to pieces. And us screaming like hell every time it happens. Sometimes we could have voluntarily given it up, and then they find out about it, and we go to jail, and then we get out, and then we give it up. Because I don't want to go back to jail anymore. And another piece of my kingdom is missing, much to my advantage. A lot of giving up has to do with being wrong. God, it's hard to be wrong. But what a relief when you finally admit it and you let it go. Yeah, I was wrong about that guy. He's actually a pretty nice guy. All the resentments that we had. That's why these steps are so big, 4 and 5. They all are part of our kingdom. And as long as we're holding on to them, we can't take one step inside there. We can't even get a glimpse until we let go. We're like the monkey that reached in the jar to get the food, and that was the trap. All he had to do is let go of the food, and he can get away, and he just keeps holding on to it. And he gets captured. He says, I wasn't going to give up that damn food. And now he's in a cage. That's us. We hold on to things because we honestly believe that they're essential to our well-being. This is the real me. I've had this, or this is how I've done it all my life. Well, how's it going? Bad. Well, why do you keep doing it? It's mine. I thought it up. It's my idea. It's my plan. It's my kingdom. I do anything I want in here. Yeah, true. Well, let's stop doing that. So you can see this whole thing. The step 6 is, there was a friend of mine who sent me the story. It's from C.S. Lewis. I tell it a lot at different conventions. And it's the story about the little boy with the toothache. And I know I've told it here before, but I like it, so I'll keep telling it. And he's a 10-year-old boy. He's a great baseball player. They got a big game the next day. The coach said, just get 8 hours sleep. Don't even think about the game. No practice. Just be well rested. So he tells his parents, I got to get to bed early and get 8 hours sleep. They feed him. He's in bed. He goes right to sleep. Everything's going great. About midnight, he wakes up. He's got the beginning of a little toothache. Just a twinge. And he says, well, I'll call my mother. I'll get 2 aspirin. They kick in pretty quickly. I'll be back to sleep. Then he has second thoughts about that. On second thought, I'll wait and see if it goes away by itself. So he waits and waits. And after about 45 minutes, it twinges a little higher. He says, well, I better call her now and get the 2 aspirin. And then he goes, no, I'm going to wait. Maybe it'll go away by itself. So for some unknown reason, he wants it to go away by itself. Finally, at 4 a.m., he calls and gets the aspirin. He goes to sleep, but he missed 3 hours sleep, and he doesn't do well in the game. And, of course, the question is, what the hell's wrong with that kid? Why didn't he just go, could you bring the aspirin in? And the answer is, he knew his mother very well. That was his problem. He knew her very well. And he knew she would bring the 2 aspirin in, which is all he wanted. But she wouldn't stop there. She'd call the dentist and make him a dental appointment to go in and see what's going on in his mouth. And he knew the dentist didn't stop with looking at that one tooth. While he was there, he looked at every tooth. And if there was any imperfections in any of the teeth, he made note of it, and he had a series of appointments until he had perfect teeth. He didn't want perfect teeth, he wanted 2 aspirin. That's all he wanted. And sometimes all we want is half measure. Yeah, make me a little better. Make me a little nicer to my family. Make me... And I'm still in control. I just don't want to give up all my plans and just serve God. Just can't stomach that. I'd like to serve Him and also, you name it, just have a sideline, something, a hobby, anything. I just don't want to be a conduit through which God carries out His work on this earth. Then I may say, well, I've made some progress in AA. I start seeing the value of this. I'm starting to understand that every time, however reluctantly, I agree to give up something and it's removed, I feel so much better. It ended up being a blessing in disguise. Even if I was forced into it, I see the value in finally having that out of my life. So I think I'm going to go ahead and voluntarily shoot for perfection. Oh, good. Well, then, before you do that, have another warning label. Don't want you jumping into this unprepared. We have to tell you about the seventh step. So we have the problem here that we have to get willing to give up our territory, and then we're going to find out something in the seventh step where it says, now we've established this willingness. Now we have this one other thing. We have to humbly ask God to remove these things that we are now willing to get rid of. And I remember my sponsor say, could you explain to me, Sandy, the difference between just asking God to remove them and humbly asking? Could you just write out a couple paragraphs on the difference between regular asking and humbly asking? What was that again? The step says you humbly ask. Yeah. Well, let me see you. How would you envision yourself humbly asking? Oh. I don't think I ever looked the word up in the dictionary, but I do remember a movie with Bing Crosby in it, and there was a nun. I don't know who she was, but I do remember her. Who was it? Oh, okay, maybe it was. Wherever she was in the movie, she had this look on her face. It was just a look. And I remember going, now that is humility. If I've ever seen humility, that woman captured it. So if I get in front of a mirror and could get that look, God, please take these. God, as you can see, I didn't have the clue what humility was. And most people who come to AA haven't got a clue what humility was. So I decided to look it up. Now you got to understand, at this moment in time, I am a gung-ho Marine fighter pilot captain. And I look in the dictionary. I thought there had been a misprint. It says humility is total absence of pride. Now, if you've seen the commercials for the Marine Corps, the few, the proud. So we're going to change the motto to the few. It just doesn't. The Marines, the few. That does not cut it. Pride is wrong? I remember everything. Where's your pride? Why aren't you doing this? Where's your pride? Where's your pride? That's in the material world. We're not talking about the material world. We're talking about the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, pride leads the list. Pride is 99%, and greed, lust, envy, anger, gluttony, and sloth are the other 1%. Pride is why I want to have a separate territory. Pride is why I want to be separated as an individual, my own person, with my own property and defects. I want to be me. That's what pride does. And it gets very threatened when the territory is threatened. Absence of pride. Absence of pride. Boy, that was hard for me to... But my sponsor was going along with it, and he was another Marine. He said, we're talking about the spiritual world. Humility is a total absence of pride and a total awareness of how powerful all our defects are in ruining what we're entitled to. A total awareness of that. One of the things, and this only occurred to me about 5 years ago. It's impossible to make spiritual progress on my own. I did not like that. Because I could think up things that I just did. We love to accomplish things without God. Boy, do we love doing that. Just leave them out whenever you can. No, I accomplished that on my own. Sorry, God, but some of us can move ahead on our own. Really? What did you accomplish on your own? I gave up smoking. I did not apply the principles of AA. I didn't surrender. I didn't ask for help. I just went, I am going to stop smoking through my own willpower. And I did. Whenever I wanted a cigarette, I just went, I wouldn't give you a cigarette for $1 million. Suffer, you rotten son. I was the drill sergeant beating up me. And I just went back and forth. And pretty soon I had given up cigarettes. And I was free. And I was running. And I went, see? And my sponsor said, so you gave up cigarettes without any help from anyone and without any help from God, right? Yes, I did. What do you think that did to your pride? I said, it probably blew it up to here. It set me back spiritually because I accomplished it on my own. It looks like I became nicer. I did this, I did that. But if I did it on my own, I totally lacked humility. And I did not get closer to God. The people may have thought I was. They may have said, look at those things he's doing. Look at him. He's over in the treatment center every night. Look, he's over here. He's over there. And that's wonderful. But are we taking God with us? The whole point of humility is we want help. I want help. The only way I can get help is to admit that I'm powerless. I'm powerless over making spiritual progress on my own, even though it sure looks like I can. Deep down inside, it's not progress. It's admirable. It's noteworthy. It draws comments, but it doesn't bring us closer to God. Chuck made the point so clearly. And if those of you that are new, Chuck Chamberlain was one of the great AA members out on the West Coast. And Chris and I went out to Laguna about 3 months ago just to go see where he lived, go to some of his old home groups. And it was sort of my way of thanking Chuck for what he gave to me back in the 70s and 80s. And it really felt good. And Chuck does not mince words. He has a statement that everybody likes when they first hear it, and then they try to forget it. And he says, human beings only have one problem, and it includes all problems. All problems are condensed into this one problem. What is the one problem? Conscious separation from God. That's the problem. You, in your consciousness, exist separate from God. And because you're out there on your own, all these problems appear because you're the God of your territory. You have to fix everything. You have to make yourself comfortable. You have to do this. You have to do that. And then he says, and there's one solution that includes all solutions: conscious contact with God. So when we have conscious contact in an ever higher and higher degree, no problems can exist. That's how powerful it is. And I know we have a lot of people going, well, that's going a little too far. You want me to believe that if you get sufficient conscious contact with your own Creator, there simply won't be problems going on? And I say, yes, that's exactly true. That's something I just don't think I could ever believe. Well, let's go back to your drinking days. Do you remember leaving your office? And you remember how much anxiety you were under? You remember the stuff that was pressing on you? Well, I think my wife's getting ready to leave. I don't have money for the rent. Freaking boss is after me. And boy, you come in there, you are just, bartender, 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. Somebody comes in. Sandy, how's it going? Great. Any problems? No, God, no, none. I'm just doing wonderful. Let me buy you a drink. I thought you were kind of broke. Don't worry about it. Day at a time. Money will show up tomorrow. I don't know. Something was poured into me that changed my perception so that as I looked around, I didn't see any problems. And I love living there. Isn't this wonderful? I'm in the world with no problems. The problem is the power we were using to get there was chemical. It produced very similar results to spirituality. It caused something to happen inside of us to stop seeing all these problems that we manufactured in our head in the first place. So in a very literal way, it paralleled what spirituality did. It changed my perception so that when I looked around, I didn't see all those problems that I saw before I got here. And if you don't see them, they aren't bothering you. That's the power of alcohol. So we shouldn't dismiss the idea that closeness to God can cause the same effect. And as we go through our sobriety, we get glimpses. We get glimpses of the fourth dimension. We get glimpses of this kingdom. And we see briefly the sense of self being gone and being united with this Creator. So we getting back to the seventh step, boy, that sounds great. I'd really like to progress with the seventh step now and really get down to the nitty-gritty of humbly asking. And they said, well, before you do that, I just want to advise you of one thing. Each time one of these is removed, it's going to be extremely painful. Just wanted to put that up before you. What? Yeah, pain shows up. 4-letter word in the seventh step. Pain. Whoa. My sponsor said, well, it's your choice. You can go through the pain of changing or you can stay in the pain of not changing. But either way, you're going to be in pain. Why is it painful? Because we're ego puncturing. We're going in and taking away more territory. It reminds me in the beginning when we first start doing this. In other words, the surrender of alcohol was quite a fight. Do you remember how long we fought the idea of giving up alcohol? It was quite a struggle. And then these other character defects, some of those we go for years until we finally, all right. So the idea of giving up more of our territory is going to be painful. It's kind of like you're out of shape and you're going to get in shape. You know what's in store for you, don't you? That first 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to go to bed at night and every muscle in your body is going to, oh, jeez. But you know that you're going to be so happy when you get on the other side. Because then, when you go down to the gym, you're not going down there to go through pain. You're going down there because this effort is wonderful and you feel better at it. And so, there comes a point where we look at the pain that we were forced to go through and we see the results that we get and we suddenly decide that it's worth it. And we really voluntarily want to go down and get even in better shape. I'm not going to be forced down there. I'm going to go because I want to get closer to God. I'm not being driven. I'm not being anything. And Bill writes in the 12 and 12, what a great line. A great turning point in our lives came when we saw humility as something we wanted rather than something we had to have. We suddenly eagerly embraced whatever pain might be involved. And when you eagerly embrace it, it's hardly painful because most pain comes from resisting what has to be done. So when this resistance is gone, we see that spiritual progress becomes easier and easier. And we go ahead and take New Mexico. And while you're at it, Idaho. Go ahead. Texas. I just want to, and this will be it. You can get all the way down. I just want to keep Connecticut. I give you 49 states, God. I got Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut. I just want to stick it in my pocket and slip in. Sorry. You have to drop Connecticut and come on in. And most of us are going to go to the grave with Connecticut in our pocket. But we sure came close. Thank you all very much.